folks, so today's video is going to be my review of the Urban Decay Moondust palette. But I do like to mention that I've used this palette for the last 5 days in 5 different looks. I did have to bring in some additional eyeshadows just because of the nature of this palette, which I will talk about. But yeah, so if you guys are curious about seeing any looks, then they're all in a playlist on my channel. But this will be my review, cost breakdown, who I recommend this for, that kind of thing. So when you open it up, it does have these 8 shades. Now, they're not to me technically like a traditional eyeshadow. They are a glitter eyeshadow. And so what I mean by that is that, you swatch them, they're very, very highly reflective, but they're not a metallic eyeshadow, and they're not quite a chunky glitter eyeshadow. It's some sort of mix in between. It's a really unique texture. So what I really suggest if you're interested in this palette is to try to get to a Sephora and swatch either this palette in person, and then they do sell individual like little pots of these as well. Hi, truck. So this palette is definitely designed to be more of an addition to your makeup collection as opposed to a standalone eyeshadow palette. So all the looks that I did this week using several of the colors in this, I did have to bring in outsider eyeshadows, like matte eyeshadows to blend in the crease. They are definitely a unique texture, and they're definitely a glitter eyeshadow. So a little bit about packaging itself. This is one of my favorite packaging of like all time. This is like hard plastic, like hard plastic, and it's just beautiful. It's like this sparkly stuff, but it's not like glitter that's not gonna come off on your fingers. It's like ingrained sort of like in the plastic. It's stunning, and like I'm obsessed with it, and it's beautiful. This is one that stays out on my vanity because to me this looks expensive and it looks interesting. Like it's visually appealing to me to have it on my vanity. It catches the light. So yeah, I absolutely love the packaging, and it's nice and sturdy. It's got a little bit of weight to it. It does have a nice big mirror on the It does have a nice big mirror on the inside, and just like a really strong magnetic closure, like really strong. Urban Decay normally kills it when it comes to packaging, and this is like no exception. This is one of the nicest packaging of like any palette that I have. So I'm a little bit obsessed with that. So currently on the Sephora website, this retails for $70 Canadian. Obviously different depending on where you are and what currency you use, but it is $70 Canadian, so that equals out, 8 eyeshadows, a little less than $10 an eyeshadow. One thing that's interesting though is that these are sold individually, like in pot form, and those retail for $25 a piece. Or you can pick up 3 of the little pots for $75. So that's why I suggest going into Sephora or any place that has Urban Decay and swatching them, taking a look at the colors, seeing if it's something that you're going to use, and then deciding from there, whether or not you want to pick up like one of the little pots of them, or you want to pick up the palette that has all the other shades. This is definitely worth it in terms of price, especially if you do like that consistency and you tend to use it a lot. Picking up the palette is really good, especially you're paying so much less for so many more shades. The shades in this palette are unique to this palette, so the individual pots that they have are going to be different from the shades in this, which again makes it a little bit more desirable to pick this up, especially if you like a couple of the shades in this. Now I am going to read what it says on the Sephora site. Microfine bits of iridescent sparkle collide with intense dreamy hues and lush 3D metallics for an effect that's out of this world. And since Moondust, sorry, that's just funny to me. And since Moondust has minimal fallout, the sparkle stays on your lid and off your cheeks. It's formulated without parabens, sulfates, and another word, I don't know if I can pronounce that. It says, what you need to know. The new technology gives Moondust an amazing effect not found in traditional pressed powder eyeshadows. It feels like a cream but goes on like a powder to create a smooth, brilliantly reflective look. The result, sexy twinkling sparkle with tons of depth in movement. We recommend applying the Moondust with your fingers. For extra intense color payoff, try it wet. So I find it really interesting that it says on the Sephora site to use them in several different ways. I do suggest using them with your fingers. That's something that I like to do for metallic eyeshadows as well as like things like these. But what I suggest to get the maximum amount of color payoff and have them last is to use it either with a sticky base or a glitter glue. And then my favorite way to applying them is actually to use them wet. So I take a little bit of Fix Plus, I dampen my brush, I go in, I apply it onto the lid, and then what I like to do to really get that glitter to like pop is to then take my finger and press it on top while that product is drying. That's going to help it really stick, and it's really going to make it like nice and vibrant. So it definitely lives up to that claim. It really does have depth, and it's more interesting, I find, than just a standard glitter. So it has a little bit of depth in it, which I do like. They also claim that it has minimal fallout and that the sparkle stays on your lids and off your cheeks. It does have a little bit of fallout. I think anything with glitter in it is going to. It's not the worst, and it's not as bad as using actual glitter and pressing it on, but there is going to be a little bit of fallout. I mean, that's kind of typical with the nature of this product. They claim that the sparkle stays on your lid. That's true. I find that pretty true. Once they're on, it's on. If you use it with the finger and just press it onto a base, you may get a little bit more fallout than if you were to use it wet or if you were to use a glitter glue. But typically once it's on, it stays on, which I really do like as well. So I do want to talk a little bit about who I suggest this palette for. Obviously, you're going to have to be someone who likes glitter on the lid to even consider purchasing this. If you're somebody who likes only matte looks, duh, skip it. Or if you're somebody who's looking for a really specific color in a sparkle, go check out their individual ones. They do have some really nice like champagne colors, a green, a purple, a gold from what I can tell. Still want to experiment sort of with this texture, then maybe picking up one of the $20-$25 pots is worth it to you. Obviously, if you're a big fan of glitter and a big fan of color, I do highly suggest this. Keep in mind too that some of these shades are considered neutral to me. This one right here, Lithium, is more of a brown shade where you could actually wear this in like a neutral eye look. Some of these you can use with inner corners in certain looks. You know, this pink shade here is so light that it's like a really nice inner corner sort of highlight. So one thing I highly suggest is swatching this in person. When this palette first came out, I actually had no interest in it. Heard a couple people mentioning it just because I thought it was really expensive for what it was. I was like $70 for 8 eyeshadows, like what is this? But I went into Sephora and I swatched them and I was like I needed to buy it like in that moment. They're so cool and like an interesting texture that it was just stunning. So I definitely suggest if you can. It's really cool, unlike anything that I own, and definitely a purchase that I highly suggest if you are into that sort of thing. Obviously, if it's not your jam, I don't recommend it to you. You're gonna know that, right? So yeah, that is my final review. I do hope that gives you guys some information if you're trying to decide on whether or not to purchase that palette. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. As mentioned earlier, you guys can always check out the videos that I did using this palette if you're looking for inspiration and what kind of things that you can use it for. Definitely check that out in my playlist. So hopefully everyone's doing good, and until my next video, I'll talk to all of you soon.